Hello, this is going to be a retrospective of my time doing the Bullet Hell Game Jam. This is my first game jam and my sixth completed game. Can we call this a completed game? If you missed all the short and wondering what the hell this is all about, I participated in the Bullet Hell Game Jam from about the 3rd of May to the 12th of May, primarily working on the weekends. That's about it. We just had to declare like what kind of tools we use. We ended up using one tool, and then we had to declare if we used any AI, which we didn't, because the internet is just all the information in the AI just packaged in a way you can actually find it. But just to kind of put everything in perspective, I was up till about 4 in the morning trying to get everything working for this game, trying to get restarting levels working, making sure the game manager can navigate between each level and everything starts when it's supposed to, so things don't go wrong. It was a long, long night. I almost had nothing because I had worried for a moment that one of my partners, which you will hear from later in this video, built with a editor-only script or used an editor-only script in their AI. Thankfully, they did not. They just used it for its intended purposes, creating tools and such like that. But oof, I thought I was toasted. But overall, I had a lot of fun. I got to hang out with 4 other people. Some of them I knew pretty well, some of them I didn't know quite as well. I was, or I guess maybe am still the most adept at Unity in our group. So I got to do a lot of like impromptu teaching and like, oh, well, this is how this works and this is how that works. And this is how I do it, but I don't know if that's the best way to do it. And I got to, help a lot of people in that fashion. And I would 100% do this again. I would recommend any aspiring game dev to participate in a game jam. Now, they can go poorly. One of the people, which you will also hear from in this video, participated in a game jam where their group decided like how the game was gonna work and stuff, and then never showed up again. So he made the whole game and he didn't even like what they decided. Very funny, honestly. Well, without further ado, I'm gonna send it over to Panda.
Hello, I'm Panda John. I did the arts in Deck Dragon and a little bit of programming. Participating in Game Jam is a wonderful learning experience. I recommend everyone who's interested in making games to join one. I've fully released a game on the GameMaker 2 engine. Before this jam, I had about 50 hours on Unity. Jumping into this with the team really helped me get a grasp on a new engine and learn a lot.
Hi, I'm Dan, and I worked on the enemies solely for this game. Yeah, it was interesting. It's difficult to make a game in any amount of time. Like 50 years is a difficult amount of time to make a game. And when you have, what is that, 72 hours-ish of actual working time, but not even then, like, really, truly, like, maybe 24 if people go 8 hours every day, and that's not all going to be productive. It's going to be really hard, even if you scope correctly. Because I think in pretty much all things in life, you need to plan if you want to do less work. Meaning, just any sort of plan will help. And you don't have that luxury in a game jam because you, again, only have such a small amount of time to make a video game. So that made things difficult. I think there were several times where maybe there could have been better communication across systems of how things needed to work. What is expected of each thing, who needs what. Especially like, I mainly worked on enemy things. And I think there was a lot of discussion on what the enemy manager needed to be responsible for. And I tried to push back a bit on some of the things that were being asked. So that was interesting. Getting back to the planning thing, I definitely spent 2 days doing a thing that I then ended up pretty much scrapping entirely, but also needing to retrofit to the existing work I had done so as to not break stuff. So that felt stupid, but that was also great because I learned how to do a new thing, and I learned, I don't know, maybe don't go too ham. Maybe if you see an issue, solve it early and don't come to the end and realize, well, this is silly. I need to fix something. I don't know if I have much else to say. You know, it's my first time really using Unity that much, so that was interesting to learn all that new stuff. There's a lot of things about Unity that I find less intuitive. A lot of naming things that are less intuitive. I feel like Unity itself could benefit from like someone going through it and being like, well, what should these things actually be called? But maybe that's just my lack of experience speaking. I don't think I have anything else to say, so ta-ta for now.
Thanks, Dan and John, for your point of views. It was very fun working with you, and we're definitely going to do that again sometime. Let's talk my biggest regrets in this game jam. My first and biggest regret by a mile, we used a tool called Variabullet or ND Variabullet to handle like the actual shooting mechanics for the bullet hell game. And I can only describe using the tool as like playing a game that you're supposed to play with bare hands with like gigantic electrical mittens on. It is it could do a lot of cool things. You could add a lot of cool stuff for it, but it was made I fucking hate tools like these. They seem to be made so they cannot be copied, except for word, whatever. They seem to be made so they can't be competed with, and so their entire construction is purposely obtuse and nonsensical and roundabout. Like I think they like partially redid how layers work just for their layers, and I don't know why you would do that. Its entire system is dumb, and we ended up going with it instead of making our own tool, and it just made everything so much harder for no fucking reason. I am at this point positive that using this tool costs us more time than not using this tool. And now we didn't make the whole game ourselves, and kind of like, and I brought this up about a quarter of the way through the jam, but halfway through our like total work hours that we ended up putting in, they're like, hey, do we really want to use a bullet hell tool in our bullet hell game jam? Shouldn't we make our own tool? And we've decided that, well, nobody really wanted to put in the extra work to fix our mistake, and so we just went with it. And that kind of fucking sucks. But hey, I agreed with that, so it's my fault too. On top of those other shortcomings, there's no sound. I did say there's no balance, but there's really no fucking balance. We just kind of made waves and like yeeted them at the wall. That's why the start of the game is so hard. There's one wave where they just kind of like go down to a place that you can't really aim and dodge correctly because you can't see, and you just kind of fucking die, unless you can kill them right away with the laser. Like I said, there's no sound. There's also no bosses. We have a whole second level, or at least let me show that to you quick, like that you can't even get to. This is the level. It looks like this. Let me zoom out so we can actually see everything. And you can't get to this level. Well, here, I think this is better. Nope, same. You can't get to this level. It has no waves. We just ran out of time. People had lives and jobs, and I don't, but I put in like what 40, 60 hours over the 2 weeks. I could have used that time more efficiently, but I trusted my team to do their part of the labor and get as many levels and bits and bobs in, and I made sure everything got stapled together. So all right, sorry about that, guys. A little bit more rambly than usual, but there's lots of thoughts to air out and things that happened. So this little treat, I'll show you the next game I'm kind of working on. It doesn't look like much, because it isn't, but it's gonna be like a tree growing simulator game where you try to like keep your tree healthy from like fire and mites and all the anti-tree things. You're gonna be able to like grow limbs and other stuff like that. Should be a good old time. But yeah, all in all, I think we all had a pretty good time, and everybody basically learned. Everybody definitely learned something, but I think most people had fun, and I think most people would do it again. See y'all next time.